One topic on the Canadian stock market that reigns supreme is medical marijuana and the medical marijuana producers that trade on the Canadian stock markets. I'm Cody from Wall Street Breakdown. Today, well, at least today the news broke, Aurora, one of the bigger licensees here in Canada to produce medical marijuana, made a bid for CanniMed, another very large producer here in Canada. The bid was for about 3.7 Aurora shares for every share of CanniMed. Aurora currently trades in the $6 and some change mark. They're up about 30% in the last week since announcing a revenue growth number that was very significant during their earnings call last week. Now, Aurora and CanniMed together would be worth about $3 billion and make them the second largest licensee in Canada when medical marijuana eventually becomes legalized marijuana. I imagine that second place is going to be fairly significant. Now, this would give CanniMed shareholders, I believe it's about 16% of Aurora in total. Now, they would have a combined, I'm sure this would be an Aurora company, but CanniMed would definitely get shuttled in, and all their clients would get shuttled in as well. They would have a combined 40,000 patients registered already, which puts them again in second place, or it would, behind Canada's number one medical marijuana licensee. Of the 50 or so licensees that are out there, over $3 billion in market capitalization. That company is Canopy Growth. Canopy Growth has 64,000 registered patients, so that would still be a good chunk, 24,000 over what would be the Aurora plus CanniMed arrangement. CanniMed says they haven't received it yet. They said they don't really believe the inflated 3.7 shares of Aurora per share of CanniMed price. And Aurora has said they submitted it on Monday and they've left a deadline for Friday. Now, they said they've also got over 30% of shareholders for CanniMed to already support this deal. So they're definitely making a push to make this happen. A couple of weeks back, Canopy Growth, the company that definitely gets the most play in the medical marijuana talk up here in Canada, they were bought into by Constellation Brands, a very large publicly traded liquor company down in the United States. And I've said this before when talking about this topic. I think a lot of this medical marijuana stuff is going to have big money invested in it in the future. So having your money in it right now, while it's all very speculative, I find to be quite worrisome. I just don't see why getting into it now, other than the fun of the money moving around, why it's something that's so on the tip of everyone's tongue. I find myself up here, because people know what I talk about, they know what I do. I find myself with my acquaintances getting in a lot of conversations about this. And I warn them against the same things. And I let them know that they should speak to their licensed professional financial advisor, just like you should. But I warn them against the fact that who knows how many licenses the government of Canada finally opens up when they open up the floodgates and realize that this could be a really big revenue generator. Who knows how much outside interest from outside of Canada comes in and buys up either these licenses, or they end up just majorly investing in companies with a lot of liquidity that they're already sitting on, waiting for a new plan to come to fruition, when a lot of these Canadian companies are very heavily leveraged already. I think that's my main concern, is I don't know how to tell the future. Maybe you do. You could leave that in the comments. I'd love to hear that part. I can't. And it makes me kind of worrisome because I see a lot of these prices jump around a lot. I understand it's a growing marketplace. I understand that there's going to be some winners in this. Obviously, this is going to be an industry that doesn't go away, but gets a lot bigger. But at the moment, when we're thinking of the 50 licensees that are out there in Canada right now, and all the conversation that there's been that as we get closer and closer to medical marijuana and marijuana in general being legalized here in Canada, there's going to be a lot more consolidation of the industry. What happens once that industry is wide open? I just don't know. So should you play around in these 8 months that are left until there's legalization in Canada? You could, but I think a lot of these companies are actually playing around too. They're actually getting to play around with your money. I don't know which are going to be left. I don't know which ones are actually smart enough to know what they're doing in an industry that has never been around before. Not to this level, right? Like there's a lot of stuff out there that happened, liquor, tobacco, those happen. But when you're talking about what ostensibly is recreational fun, this is going to be brand new. You think other people aren't going to get in on this? I think that's quite laughable. I think people with a lot of money, a lot of activist investors, a lot of other companies are going to find their way into this industry, especially if they find out that the United States isn't going to close off their borders to Canada. I would think a lot of American companies sitting on a lot of capital will find their way into Canada, and Canada will probably allow it because revenue's revenue, right? We're just trying to make money up here. As long as the companies stay up here for the most part, I think we'll be all right with it. That makes me very leery about investing in companies nowadays, regardless of what Aurora happens to be doing with CanniMed and how that might affect canopy growth. I know everybody out there is very interested in it, takes up a lot of media time. I like watching it too, but put my money in it more than that 5% speculative money that you have set aside. I don't think it's necessarily feasible. But you should talk to your licensed professional financial advisor. He might see things a different way. So might you. I'm Cody from Wall Street Breakdown. If you haven't already, click the subscribe button, click the notification bell. Thumbs up for this video, thumbs up for all videos, thumbs up for whatever you happen to be doing, driving safely. Leave us a comment. We love hearing from you. We want to know what you think. We want you to have a marvelous Wednesday.